Fumble fam, thank you so much for tuning into our live show where we break down all of the latest sports news that you need to know. Before we get into the updates for today, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, hit that thumbs up button, share this video with your friends, and leave a comment below. Now, I'm Devin Howard, you guys. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Chris?
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
Hey everybody, it's Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all things social media at JRayTheFanatic.
Hey guys, it's Britt Johnson. You can follow me on all social media at IamBrittJohnson.
All right, you guys. So coming up today, we are talking about a person who thinks they'd win in a game of one-on-one with LaMelo Ball. I know we love these conversations over here on the Fumble Live, so can't wait to get into that one. We're also talking about a missed draft opportunity by the Knicks. Sorry, Chris, but I can't wait to hear what you think about that one. And then finally, is in a little bit of hot water. What do we have coming up for the post-up?
We got a pretty devastating response to what happened a few days ago from Steven Jackson, so we're going to talk about that for a little bit, and then bring back the mood up. Devin Booker out here doing his best LeBron James impression and doing some recruiting when somebody was trying to tear him against another player. We'll talk about that. And speaking of LeBron James, Rihanna was out here staring at a different Laker player, and the Laker player is responding to that stare. And we'll talk about that in post-up.
Okay. Now, Jackie, what's up for you in WTF?
We have witches and NBA.
Okay. That's
literally. That's literally it. Witches and NBA. It's random.
No big deal. And then, Britt, do you want to give the Fumble fam a little hint about what's coming up for Britt's takes?
Nah, I'll let them suffer the whole show and wait till the end of the show for Britt's takes today.
Alrighty then. Just make them suffer. Love it. Okay, let's get into our first need-to-know news story. This one is all about LaMelo Ball, as I mentioned. So I do want to preface this by just apologizing to all of you, my co-hosts, because I know how annoying these conversations get. We are constantly talking about, especially in quarantine, who the top 5 are, who the GOAT is, who would win in 1-versus-1. But we have to get into this one. So Julian Newman claims he would win in a game of one-on-one against LaMelo Ball. In fact, he says that he would win 11-8. So we have a tweet that I'm just going to have Leo put up there for you. Yeah, so this kid thinks that he would beat LaMelo Ball in a game of one-on-one. So for those of you who don't know, the Newmans are kind of like the next Ball family. So both Julian and his little sister have over 700,000 followers on Instagram. They have their own reality show that's online, and it's called Hello Newmans, which is a Seinfeld reference. And if you watch Seinfeld like I did, you probably picked up on that. And their dad, Jamie Newman, is pretty much like a clone of LeVar. So in the past, this is just a quote that he has said in the past. He said, "Nobody in the world has the skills that Julian has, not in the NBA, not in college, not anywhere, not anybody." I mean, it literally sounds like something LeVar would say verbatim. But yeah, so now Julian is saying that not only would he win in a matchup with LaMelo, he would win 11-8. The reactions on Twitter were pretty condescending, and they were pretty negative. They said things like, "Julian Newman is the most overrated basketball player I have ever seen." There was another one that says, "Man's gonna dribble for 2 hours to get blocked." And then this one is my personal favorite. It says, "LaMelo will literally shoot over him. I respect the confidence, but let's be realistic. I got suitcases taller than him." So personally, I would put my money on LaMelo for this one. But Chris, I have to ask you, because you are the resident Melo fan among all of us here, is Julian being overconfident, or can he really take LaMelo in a game of 1-versus-1? Oh, you're muted.
If only this happened to LeVar. If only this happened to LeVar.
What I was saying is I'm the resident Ball family member. My adoption papers are still you're going through right now. LeVar and I had a conversation, because we're roommates, but that's neither here nor there. Look, this, I cannot believe this is how bad the quarantine has got that we're talking about this. Because Nobody knows who the Newmans are anymore. I'll give Julian credit. There was a time where people knew who he was. I'll give you that. But nobody knows nor cares. And also, number two, we've already seen you play against LaMelo. I wish I gave you the clip, Devin, to play, because there is a clip, and it's all over Twitter, where he goes and tries to lay it up on LaMelo Ball. And what would you expect to happen? LaMelo Ball, 6'8" self, blocks that thing against the backboard and proceeds to laugh, because that's how the entire one-on-one would go. So the fact that he's trying to get some clout out of this, and he's still trying so hard, it's starting to get sad. It's starting to get. I'm starting to feel bad for him. And the way I feel about LeVar, I definitely do not feel the same way about his dad, because his dad makes LeVar look like a very, very upstanding citizen, because he talks reckless, but his facts they're never backed up. I know that's really hard to say when we got LeVar saying he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. That tells you a lot about how more crazy Julian's dad is actually. So this whole thing is crazy. Shout out to Julian and the Newman family for getting some love for this, because people are talking about him again. But no, we've seen it. It would not go well. It would be 11. I think the 8 was wrong. It would be 11-0, and Melo would win 11-0 in that. It would be 7-0 scum. I'm not. That's all I'm going to say about this.
I just want to clarify, though, I don't believe that the Newmans got much love from this. I think it was mostly just a lot of hate and a lot of ridicule. So I'm not sure that they achieved the desired outcome with this statement, this overconfident statement, but I'm glad that you gave us your thoughts and opinions, Chris. Always love hearing them, and I'm going to love hearing what you have to say about this next need-to-know news story that I want to dive into right now. So, Steph Curry, this is like Chris's rundown right now. I feel like this is all
Chris takes.
Okay, so Steph Curry wanted to be drafted by the Knicks back in 2009. His dad, Dell, and agent Jeff Austin both wanted him in New York, and they called up Larry Riley, then the GM, and pressured him into drafting Steph. Then the Warriors GM. Is that what it was? I think my notes got a little cut up here. Anyway, their plan didn't really go out as they hoped. Donnie Walsh wanted Steph so badly. He said, quote, "I really wanted Steph in that draft, and when I realized that Golden State was going to take him, I tried to trade up to take him, but I could not get the pick I needed, so I looked elsewhere and tried to fill a need. Steph was the guy, and he obviously would have made a huge difference." The sources close to the situation said that Donnie never contacted Minnesota, which held the number 5 and 6 picks at that time. And another source said, quote, "We all love Donnie, but he didn't seem to have a backup plan, and it was a mad scramble to finalize the number 8 pick, Jordan Hill." And now Donnie looks back and probably regrets not doing more to get Steph on his team. So, Chris, I obviously have to direct this first question to you again. Do you think that Donnie should have done more to land Steph?
Of any of the GMs and presidents that we've had in recent time, I mean, obviously our track record says, because there's a reason why anytime I bring up the Knicks, y'all laugh at me. The Knicks have been trash. And of all the GMs we had, Donnie Walsh was probably the best one, because he was the one in that little period of time where we were top 3 in the not in just the Eastern Conference. We were up there in the entire NBA back in 11 through 13. And hearing him say that he tried to trade up is not true. It's nice that he's trying to say that, trying to, save face, like, man, I tried to do everything I could to get Steph Curry. That's not true. We did know that the Knicks were trying to get Steph Curry, but I think what happened was they were so confident that, because Del Curry said what he had to say, all his camp was doing, they're pulling like a minimized version of the Ball family, where it was just put out there that, Steph Curry wanted to be a Knick and all that stuff. So in Knicks fashion, they just sat back and said, we'll just wait for him to come to us because this is just a done deal. So I'm not buying the rumor that he tried to trade up to do it. And to answer your question, Devin, yes, I wish he did do something to move up to try to make that pick. I mean, we had anybody that could have been given up at that time, plus that pick. So, I mean, it would have been pretty easy just to move up the 2 spots to get Steph Curry. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, but we didn't. So I'm not going to sit here and cry about this. I've cried enough tears over Steph Curry. I'm not going to cry anymore about him. So, yes, to answer your question, he should have done more.
Okay, all right. So, Britt, I want to ask you, if Steph had been drafted by the Knicks, do you think that he still would have developed into the player that we know him as today?
No, I don't. I don't really have nothing to add to this. I don't want to aimlessly talk about something that I don't have a real opinion on. But no, I don't think he would be the player he is today.
Can I ask just why you feel he wouldn't have turned into the player that he is today?
Because I think players develop with the coaches they're with. Obviously, Mark Jackson had the same exact team that technically is pretty much still there with the Warriors now, but he wasn't able to take them to a championship like Steve Kerr did. So the talent was no different between the years of Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr being there. The difference was the coach. So obviously it's going to make a huge difference who you have around you. Same thing happened with Michael Jordan. He became a different player when Phil Jackson got there. So coaching and the way the energy is in a locker room plays a huge difference on how players react and how they end up developing as players and just in the world in general and society and stuff. There's players that can go to one team and not be great, and then another coach could bring something great out of them, which is what we saw literally with the Warriors, because Steph wasn't who Steph was his first couple of years with the team. He didn't become more like Steph Curry until we saw him under Steve Kerr.
And
That's
Mark
what
Jackson,
I'm
yeah. Can I just interject though? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm the Knicks fan. I do think that he probably would have turned out to be a good player because everything Britt says is correct. And like you said, in the first few years he wasn't great, and that's because at the time they had what's his name? Old guy smokes weed all the time. Now, I can't remember his name until they finally moved on and got Mark Jackson. That's when Steph Curry started to turn into himself, and then Steve Kerr. But the thing is, at the time the Knicks had Mike D'Antoni, and I feel like the reason of his failure in his time with the Knicks was because he was never given that Steve Nash, James Harden type point guard to run his system. He had guys like, I'm going to name names you never heard of, Tony Douglas. He had guys like Raymond Felton, you know. So he had guys that didn't run the system until a certain week started, Linsanity, when he had a guy like Jeremy Lin who was literally just pushing the pace and doing all the things that Mike D'Antoni does well. And that's why he had the week he had. So I feel like Steph Curry could have been a situation where he could have blossomed into the player he is now. I mean, there's no real answer on that, but I feel like he could have still been a good player under Mike D'Antoni because I feel like he's fit.
I think coaches I think coaches develop throughout their career too, and I don't think maybe D'Antoni was in a position to be what he was when he won Coach of the Year with the Rockets. You know, I think coaches. I mean, look at what the Raptors did, firing a guy, and then a week later he's named Coach of the Year. You know, like it just depends on how the organization is. If they're toxic with whatever, that could, just like I said, it could affect players. It could also affect coaches in the same way.
So, Jackie, I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. Do you think that, the changes in the front office and everything that's happened with the Knicks since 2009, do you think that would have affected Steph's development as a player had he been drafted by the team?
Well, I mean, and that's exactly my thought. It's more than Steph. It's, Steph is in a situation right now where everything is firing on all cylinders. There's chemistry between him and his teammates. There's chemistry between him and Steve Kerr, the front office, all of that. The Knicks haven't had that kind of chemistry. I don't even know if it's in my lifetime. So I don't know if that impacts you. I mean, and I tell people all the time, you can relate sports to your regular life. If you're on a job where your boss is an idiot and your coworkers are douches, it's hard for you to perform, but you walk into a job that maybe you weren't so enthusiastic about going into, but you and your coworkers groove, your boss is supporting you, wants you to succeed, shows you they want you to succeed, builds you up so you can succeed. It's a totally different situation. So you're talking 100%. About asking if a player who we know to be great would function well in a dysfunctional system. I just don't know if there's any way to say yes to that.
Right. And I would like to quote, remember the Titans, and they said attitude reflects leadership, and it's going to trickle down, and Jackie's always the one to say that if you go to Cleveland, you just end up, the quarterbacks have not had success there, and that's because it's not a successful franchise. Like they have not put around them pieces that have built like a strong foundation to grow on. And I think the Knicks, unfortunately, is one of those organizations right now. Like, could they turn it around? Yeah, possibly. But like, I think that could have negatively affected Steph, and I think it's probably negatively affected other players as well.
Right. Like Carmelo.
Did not negatively affect Carmelo. Stop that.
Yes, it did.
Stop
yes,
that.
it did.
No,
yes, it did.
The only person that the Knicks positively affected was Jeremy Lin. Like, I can't think of anybody else that went to the Knicks and became this outstanding player because of it.
Chris,
I would like to say
we trade him away because we don't know how to hang on to our players. There's a reason why we talk about KP, and it's because of the Knicks. It's not negative. It's not positive, but it still counts.
I would like to say thank you to Britt. I feel like it's been a whole week since I got a Cleveland dig in, and she did it for me. Thank you, Britt. I appreciate that.
Got you.
All right. So I hope you guys take that sassy energy into this next and final need to know news story. So as we all saw, Scottsdale, Arizona was pretty much like fully open this past weekend. It's been, I think, fully open for a few weeks. People can go to the gym and get their nails done. But I think what shocked a lot of people was the fact that there were huge crowds of people gathering at pool, like day clubs and nightclubs, and there was absolutely no social distancing going on. And the mayor of Scottsdale was super mad when he saw a video of Floyd Mayweather and a bunch of other people partying and definitely not leaving 6 feet of space between them. So the mayor spoke to TMZ and said, quote, "The images from Old Town Scottsdale this weekend are disturbing and frankly show a real lack of common sense and civic liberty." He went on to criticize all of the business owners and party goers who were gathering in large crowds and said that he'd be reaching out to the businesses that permitted that many people within the confines of their venues. So that includes Floyd Mayweather and everybody else that was just raging with him. And he claimed that the actions of Floyd and everybody else who were out partying were disrespectful to the health and safety of the public. So Jackie, do you think that it was disrespectful for Floyd and the others to gather in a large group and rage on like that if Scottsdale was fully open?
Floyd might not have even been able to read the ordinance properly, so I'm going to give him a pass on this one.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, here's the thing though, and I've said it since day one. I said that this was going to happen. You lock people inside and you take away the things that they love to do, to relieve stress. You're going to have these moments where people act a complete fool just because it's like, oh my God, pool, you know what I mean? And it's just going to be a little moronic. And even with me saying, oh yeah, I can't wait to get back to sports, we have to move forward. I'm saying that while 18 states have had an influx of the coronavirus as we slowly open. So it's just human nature to kind of want to be around other people. But I'm still giving Floyd a pass. I don't know if he fully understands what was going on. So I'm giving him a pass on this one.
Really quickly, we have a super chat from Donnie Trowell. He gave us $2. He says, "Whoopi, call the Knicks. They could use you now." Chris, you have anything you want to say?
Right, that's the only thing we got left. I mean, it worked in the movie. Come on, Whoopi.
Right.
We need you.
All right, so Jackie, you don't think that Floyd can be blamed for potentially misinterpreting the social distancing guidelines, but Britt, are you surprised that Floyd so blatantly disregarded all of the social distancing rules that we've been hearing about and was willing to be in a place like this and caught on camera?
Amongst everybody, he was social distancing the most. He was on a chair, table, whatever he was, and everybody else was below him and kind of away from him. So give him a little bit of credit. Secondly, the mayor doesn't need to be saying crap because he's the one that opened up the club. So
exactly.
It's his fault that the club is open. You're really going to think that oh, well, you're telling people that the club can be open, so we must be able to go to the club. It must be safe for us to go to the club, so they're going to go. When you shut people down from stuff, like Jackie said, and then you let everything be open again or do something like that, of course people are going to bum rush the door and try to get in because now they're allowed to. I said to my friend the other day, I was like, if LA would have never closed the beaches and the hiking trails and stuff, when they open, people wouldn't be going crazy to get there because it would just be just the natural flow of everybody going every day. But once it's oh, now they're saying they want to open it 4th of July weekend here in LA, that place is going to be a zoo 4th of July weekend because people weren't able to go before, like that's common sense. That's what's going to happen. So I don't know why the mayor's mad because he definitely was the one responsible for letting it be open. So you should have kept the clubs closed then this weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend. What were you thinking? Like, that's your problem, my guy. Don't be trying to blame everybody else when you're the one that signed off on it.
I know.
He's mad because he didn't get the invite. That's what it is. He didn't get invited, and now he feels some type of way. Like, man.
He wanted to party with Floyd. But that's a great point, Britt. I feel like if they were to open up the clubs but then force everybody to stay 6 feet apart, nobody would have showed up. So it either has to be, I feel like, all or nothing when you're ready to open up a place like that. Because you can't be like, okay, you guys, like, you can't dance. You have to stay, 6 feet apart. Just wouldn't work. So I'm with you on that one. What was that, Chris?
They have little X's taped down on the floor. Everyone stand on your X. If you want to dance, you must be on your X. That's what she did.
And they clearly even couldn't in that situation. So the club clearly let X amount of people in. Like, then let fewer people in the club. Like, that club was clearly like wall to wall. Like, you did not, say we're not letting certain people in or whatever the case is. You let the capacity in. Like.
Definitely. All right, you guys. Well, that wraps up Need to Know News. So, Chris, what's going on in the world of social media?
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Post Up with your boy Chris, Quarantine Edition. This first one, I'm not really, I don't know the word. I'm not really excited to be talking about something like this today, especially when you heard the news that we've been hearing, and then to see this video, like, it was really, really sad. And, they always say that, it's it doesn't really hit until it hits close to home. And I feel like that was, kind of the situation. Even he said it in the video. But I digress. We heard about the news with George Floyd, who was he was another victim in a murder that was disguised as justice in the eyes of law enforcement. And we've been hearing a lot of pushback from athletes and everybody around the world, as you would expect in this time. And it turns out that he was really close with ex-NBA player Stephen Jackson, who we talk about a lot on this show. And Stephen Jackson posted up this video grieving, and it was pretty much his reaction to the news as soon as he heard it. So here's the video without further ado. I don't want to say anything else to that.
That's what I got to wake up to, huh? That's what I got to wake up to, huh? Floyd was my brother, man. We called each other twin, bro. Everybody know me and Floyd called each other twin. My brother only was out there in Minnesota. He was changing his life. He went to Minnesota. He was driving trucks. I had just sent him out 2-3 boxes of clothes. And my boy was doing what he's supposed to do, man. Y'all go and kill my brother, man. I'm on my way to Minnesota, man. Whatever I can do. Can't let this ride, dog. Y'all not gonna be mad till it hit y'all front door. Bull.
Yeah, and like I said, we had tons of athletes and stuff, and of course I point at the athletes because this is a sports show. So there was tons of athletes that were responding to it. Everybody was responding to it. Let's just be real. Everybody had something to say about it. My problem, before I ask any question, I just hate how it just seems like every single time something like this happens, it all just keeps getting clumped together, because I feel like we're going to be talking about this for this week and then it's going to be gone. And every single time something else happens, then we have to bring it back up. And then this one really irked me because just to be so defenseless and for it to happen the way that it happened, and just, I don't know. This one was one that really grinded my gears a little bit, but let me not get into that on this platform. Not the place to be talking about that. Like I said, a lot of athletes and people were talking about this. Jackie, your guy LeBron, he had something to say about it. I loved the way he said it. It was simple and it was to the point. And like I said, there was I can go down the list. There's so many people that said a lot of things. I think what Jalen Brown said was something that I felt the most. I'm not going to repeat it on the show, but I liked what Jalen Brown had to say. But going back to LeBron James's comments on this, and like I said, we're both definitely people of color, and it's a scary time. And to quote one of my friends, he says, not to be dramatic, but going outside and coming back home is just not a given anymore. Unfortunately, in these times, it's facts. So in a situation like this, and hearing what everything that Steven Jackson had to say, hearing the response that LeBron James had to say, do you how you just comment? Just go.
It's literally one of those things where you have to ask people of color, legit, just how are you feeling? I get where I can totally see where you are, because that's where we are right now. Like, while the rest of the world is thinking about coronavirus, we have been dealing with this my entire life. And unfortunately, it's never going to stop. I had said, typically I wouldn't say this on this platform, but I'm at the point now where I just don't care. They don't care, so I don't care either. But I had said it should be illegal for white cops to interact with black people entirely, because clearly there is a disconnect, and it's impossible. I've been in situations where I've been pulled over and I've been the only black person in the car, and I've been treated drastically different on a routine traffic stop where I'm not even driving, and I'm the one that has to step out of the car and provide my ID. And then I'm asking it is insane. And I'm tired. And I'm not just tired of what I'm seeing. I'm tired of how we as black people are responding to it. My dad told me all the time, at some point, people do not treat you the way you want them to treat you. They treat you the way that you allow them to treat you. And this crying and marching and crying and rinse, repeat that we do, that ain't gonna get it. And this man is fired. Yeah, but he's not in jail. And then when they do go to jail, it's like, oh, they get 2 years for taking the life of someone. And then they're in a special part of the jail because they don't want them to receive any type of harm. And it's just, there's no such thing as justice when you're talking about a black person in the United States justice system. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, unless we as black people decide it's enough and we are going to force it to change. And there will be ramifications from that. And I think that that's the fear that we have as a people. But if we're talking about people coming up after us, it's either we do or we don't. And that's just it. We either try to make this world a better place or we don't. And this is just what we get. But I'm tired. Yeah, I'm legit tired. It's every single week. We haven't even had the chance to really mourn and react to Ahmaud Arbery. And here we are. And we won't have a chance to really react and grieve this. And then we'll be someplace else. This is ridiculous. And the fact that it's mostly us talking about, and then you get these little nuances here of other people who are not people of color talking about it, is infuriating, because your silence is deafening. I just need y'all to know that. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and I think what irritates me, we haven't gotten to that point yet with this, and to go off of what you said about Ahmaud Arbery, is that instead of seeing this for what it is, it always gets turned into, now, between now and the end of the week, all we're going to be seeing are the things that George did wrong. We're going to talk about probably one time he was drunk in a certain situation or something like that. That's what's going to be highlighted in these kind of, and the whole cycle of, like you said, death, grieve, repeat, death, grieve, repeat. And it's just getting really frustrating. You're right. And I don't know. This one's tough for me. But Brett, I want to come to you. Steven Jackson saying what he said. Obviously, he had heard the news and reacted the way he reacted on his video. I feel like he said everything really well for going through what he was going through. How are you feeling when you saw that video?
I mean, I don't really want to talk about how I felt when I saw the video. It's like, you're tired, you're mad, you're like frustrated, you have anxiety. It's like, and I cry a lot, so I'm probably going to cry again. But I didn't sleep really well last night. Like, obviously, I have like bags under my eyes and shit. It's been rough. And to Jackie's point of like, because I posted that Martin Luther King thing, that at some point, like, silence is betrayal, and I had family members that are, obviously I'm half black, half white. So I have family members that are white that have said, terrible things. There's some other ones that have been like, well, I just want everybody to love each other and be happy and yada, yada. So I just don't like talking about this stuff. And then I had somebody else post something about, oh, everyone needs to stop posting this video. It's giving everybody anxiety and making people upset. Be upset. That is the whole point. The whole point is for you to see this. see what's happening. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care if you feel uncomfortable in this moment. This moment isn't for your comfort. You need to feel uncomfortable and you need to get really mad so we can actually get stuff done. I had one person that I saw post something. I reposted it on my Instagram. Probably the best thing I saw to actually help the problem is white people need to talk to their white children about this every single day. Every single time a situation like this happens, they need to sit down with them, show them the video, explain to them, because white people are the ones doing this to black people. So we can't change how they feel. They have to change how they feel about other races. And the only way that they can do that is by teaching their kids at a young age that this is wrong, not to be racist, not to be whatever. Like, we can't teach other people how to feel. Like, you can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And like, the really sad thing is about this situation in particular is this cop had posted videos or posted pictures on his social media saying, "Make America white again." Like, I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
But how is a cop allowed to be a cop and still post that stuff? Literally, I could be in a regular job, and if I posted some racist stuff like that, I would get fired from a regular job. And this person's job is to protect people. So how is somebody's job who literally is as an enforcer and as a protector able to keep a job like that, knowing that they are a racist, like posting that they're racist? Like, I even remember, like, to tie it back to sports again, when there was like the refs or whatever, when they had the replacement refs in, they found out one of the refs had posted something that he liked the Saints a couple years ago, and he got fired from being a replacement ref, because you can't have that kind of bias in that type of job. And I don't understand how police officers can continue to be police officers and do this. And I don't understand why police officers don't tell us or don't speak out when other police officers are doing wrong things. That is the problem. White people not explaining to their kids at a young age and teaching their kids not to hate, and other police officers not stepping in. Maybe that guy that they kept showing, the guy that was like standing there while the other three were on top, you were just as guilty as everybody else, because you're letting them do that. You know, like, you are in that enforcer role as well. Nobody in that crowd, as soon as somebody else tries to step in and, oh, get off of him or whatever, they're going to get shot too. Like, so that's a never ending thing that's going to happen. You need to, as somebody that wears that badge, protect the badge, not protect everybody else that's wearing the badge. If they're doing something wrong, you need to call them out on it. So it's literally something that, like, it's hard for me to even put into words, because I'm just so angry all the time, but I can't talk anymore, so I'm gonna start crying.
No, you did great. You did great. And I think that's the problem, though, because you're right. What they should be doing is protecting, but in their mind, protecting the badge is by not saying anything, because it's a brotherhood and this and that and the third. And that's not the way that should be looked at, because these are still human beings. These are lives that they are responsible for. It was like you said, the guy that's just standing right there next to him is just as responsible as the dude with his knee on his neck. Like, anyways, Devin, I really want to hear from you. Is there anything you want to add to anything we had to say, so we can get this out and move on to just something?
I mean, obviously, I found the whole thing to be extremely devastating, and it's frustrating that this keeps happening. And I know, like, I am a white person, and like, but I don't stand for any of this. I think that this is horrendous and awful, and like, I want to see so much change happening. And I think that Britt and Jackie hit the nail on the head with this one. And I know I'd like to see change. I'd like to see progress moving forward. I feel so deeply sad for his friends and his family, and for Ahmad's friends and family, and all the other victims that we've seen. It's just awful that this keeps happening over and over and over again. And I want to do whatever I can to like help get this change to happen. And so if anyone has any tips for me, how I can help, like what I can do or how I can be more vocal, I try not to stay silent. So I would appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, and the last thing before I move on, I saw a really good video from one of the protests where the media is going to them and asking, well, how do you expect this to help? How do you expect what you're doing to change what's going on? And the guy said perfectly, of course, he was a brother, and he said, it's not about us. What we're doing is reacting to the decisions that the police continue to make. These are their decisions. This is what's going on right now. This us protesting is because of the decision they made. So these protests are because of them. And the thing is, that's going to then be turned around to be an ignorant statement and whatnot. But the fact is that this is true. Like Jackie said, like, we can't be silent in moments like this and just see this and be like, oh, can you believe that? Anyways, well, LeBron James said that. You know what I'm saying? We can't keep continuing to do that. And unfortunately, it just feels like we're just further away from any change. I don't know. It's just like I said, it's not a place for Thomas Sports, but I'm glad that we were able to point that out and get everybody to get their opinions on this and say what they had to say, their piece. And I see you guys in the comments as well saying what you have to say, and I'm glad that we can get that there. But let me bring it back to sports a little bit here because this post up. I don't know how to bring it back to that, but we saw NBA Central. NBA Central. They like to do these 1v1s on Twitter, and they proceeded to post a picture of Devin Booker and Jayson Tatum. I don't know if you remember. Yes, that was a picture. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was a few weeks ago. Devin did a story on the channel talking about Jayson Tatum, and we talked about it here. Jayson Tatum wanting to be a part of the Phoenix Suns during his draft, and they worked out, talked to Earl Watson, like that, and he was really intrigued to be a Phoenix Sun. But then, in fact, he was drafted by the Celtics. Well, in this situation, looks like Devin Booker felt the same way because when NBA Central tried to pin them against each other, they responded by saying that he, as in Jayson Tatum, is one of my favorite players to watch, ... for a long time. So I feel like there's a little bit of an indication that he wanted somebody to be drafted by them as well as Jayson Tatum wanted to be a part of the Phoenix Suns. It's yet to be known how that could have worked out. I don't think we will ever know because I'm pretty sure Jayson Tatum will be the pillar for the Celtics long term. So keep dreaming. But it was a nice try playing the what's the word I'm looking for? Playing the recruitment card there with this little response to your tweet. Moving on to the next one. Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins says a lot of things and we like to point him out a lot on this show. I think he went a bit. I don't think he went far. I think his opinion is his opinion. I think he went a little bit too far into call Michael Jordan a liar and stuff like that. But at the same time, the points he made, I feel like were kind of dead on. We heard yesterday that the tape came out where Michael Jordan was telling them that he's not going to play if Isaiah Thomas is on the team, talking about the dream team. So with that, Kendrick Perkins in response was saying that he wants to, in quote, free Zeke because everybody was pinning him to be the bad guy and blah, 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 blah. And then he also went on to sound like our own Jackie Ray and say that this is why he's not our GOAT. This is why he's not my GOAT. And LeBron James is his GOAT. And then has some things to say about the documentary. So without further ado, here's Kendrick Perkins on his opinion of the documentary and Michael Jordan.
I want to play with him. Now, here's my thing. The last documentary was the best sports documentary that I ever saw. But it was one thing I took away from it. It was full of lies and it was full of snitching. And when we look at Michael Jordan, and I'm glad he's not my GOAT. LeBron James is my GOAT, but that's y'all GOAT. He lied. He threw everybody under the bus. At the end of the day, the last dance was to make MJ look like a superhero and make everybody else look like a villain. If you go,
like I said, I think he went a little too far. I feel like that. I see that. I had one. But Jackie, I have to go to you first. Are you with them on this one? You think that this was, trying to make Michael Jordan look like the guy that everyone, that especially those that didn't get to see him in the 90s, picture him to be and actually like put him on that pedestal that yes, he is the king and there was nothing wrong with anything he has done in the past? Do you agree with Kendrick Perkins on that statement?
I've already said that. I've already said if I'm making a documentary about me, I'm going to look like the queen of the world if I'm making a documentary about myself. So I mean, it's just, what do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to portray myself in a negative light? I can see what he's saying. Like there's definitely, and I think even though it wasn't highlighted, there's definitely nuances about Michael Jordan that you could have Michael Jordan the douche, that could definitely be a documentary, but you didn't make it. So make your own documentary. I mean, as much as I love Kendrick, make your own documentary. But otherwise, it is what it is.
I hope you mean about Michael Jordan and not about Kendrick Perkins. I'm gonna tell you something. That documentary won't be very long if it's about Kendrick Perkins.
Look, it will have a lot of grammatically incorrect things. No, he can make his documentary about Michael Jordan. That's what I'm saying, not about Kendrick.
Okay.
Kendrick can produce and direct his own documentary about Michael Jordan. It'll be grammatically incorrect, but it'll be funny as hell. I would watch it.
Yes. Well, Kendrick Perkins, we're waiting. If you got all these things and you want to make a whole documentary about how Zeke was done wrong, we'll watch that one as well. Moving on to Jalen Brown, who is out here defining the whole. I'm not even gonna call it a meme anymore, but the whole Karen. What's it called? Label right now. But there's context to the tweet that Jalen Brown posted. I don't know if you guys heard about the story about a lady that was walking her dog in Central Park on Monday, and then Christian Cooper saw her with the dog without the leash, and he just simply asked, "Hey, it's law. Can you put your dog on the leash?" And that is when she decided to unload on him and feel offended by him making that request. Christian then decided to film her because she was acting a little bit out of character, to the point where she on camera decided to call the cops and make a lot of false claims about Christian Cooper. That followed with her losing her job and her trying to make an apology. Shout out to Christian Cooper for being the bigger man too. I'm not saying I feel like he shouldn't have had to accept her apology, but he did decide to accept her apology on air. Good for him for that. But the point of this was, this Twitter was just, all social media was just going back and forth on this whole thing. Some people were even trying to say that Christian started the whole thing and this and that and back and forth. And people were, calling her Karen because that's what's going on right now. And people didn't like that. But then Jalen Brown came in and he just told everybody what it is and what the actual definition of a Karen actually and truly is. I feel like it was on point, and she fits that label. He put out, Karen is an example of someone who was aware of her privilege and the biases and prejudices against Black men, and she decided to weaponize it. She should be arrested. Losing her job is not enough. And I think that's facts. I feel like for her to go on there and make those, and they're on camera, to make those assumptions and say everything that you're saying that she was being attacked by an African American and stuff like that. Yeah, it was all those kind of things. Those are, like we've been saying, you use any kind of you try to say something negatively about anybody, whether it is as far as she went or whatever, there's going to be repercussions to it. And for her to just lose her job, I kind of feel like, I don't feel like that's enough. And again, shout out to Christian for accepting that apology. But I don't know. I feel like, for her to explode the way she exploded on that, too far. But there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. So when you're using Karen, you think it's just funny to just be throwing Karen around. There's a meaning behind Karen, and I feel like Jalen Brown put that perfectly, especially in that situation. And last but not least, I'm not taking any more time, we got the Rihanna and Alex Caruso situation. Now, there's all these rumors. It's not rumors. We know that Rihanna is a huge LeBron James fan. She's like Jackie. She will follow him wherever he goes. And, that's fine. She's a fan of LeBron James. Right. He had this spot in the kingdom. It sounds like he probably stayed right next to Jackie in the kingdom. But she took a little break from the kingdom to, peep at his teammate, Alex Caruso. We can get the video up. Yeah, she saw there was a moment. I don't think it was what people are turning this into. I feel like she knows Caruso. The Lakers are winning by a lot, so she made a comment about Caruso. I'm trying to read lips. I can't see what she said. If somebody could decipher what she said in the chat, that'd be dope. But people took it as her risking it all for Caruso. So when that whole meme got over to Caruso, he had this to say about the situation if he ever runs into Rihanna again. He said, "If it happens again, I'll try to make something happen. I'll go over and try and dap her up for the culture." So Alex Caruso being woke. And I feel like it was blown up to be a lot more. I don't think that was a oh damn Caruso kind of stare. I think it was like she had something see, I like Caruso. He's wearing the LeBron James shoe. I think that makes a lot of sense for a player here, and that's why he jumps the way he does. I don't think it was anything like she was checking him out or anything like that. But anyways, that's it.
Not at all. Look at this picture. Look at the picture. Yeah. Leo, does that even look like a match made in heaven? Come on, stop it. Stop it.
It really, really, really does it.
All right, that was a heavy segment, Chris, but thanks.
I know. Yeah. Try to bring it back with Caruso.
At least he ended on a happier note.
Yeah,
he did. The improbabilities.
Chris, was that
What's
your
up, Devin?
last story?
That was it. I was Caruso and Rihanna, match made in heaven, question mark.
What heaven? Where is heaven?
I don't feel that way.
Pisces, you never know.
Yeah, love is blind.
I think
love. There you go.
you got to match up with a different sign. Anyway,
Pisces always
Jackie,
go for Pisces randomly, though. I know I'm a Pisces.
Ah.
I'm her.
Oh, well, see, you're just going to change anyway, Devin, so you can go with who you want to go with. You're just going to change it up anyway.
I don't know if I was being a Gemini, I would just like to go with Jackie. On that note, that was like a very great, like weird note to end the post up on. So take us into WTF.
Okay, guys. Well, like I said, Chris's segment was heavy, but we're going to get back into some fun times because we've got some witches to talk about. So this all started when First Take posted a clip from their show, and then Kendrick Perkins said he was trying to say that LeBron James is better than Steph Curry in every single way. It's a conversation that just was weird for it to come up anyway. But then Larry responded with a very true statement. He said, NBA players are the only athletes that spend all of the offseason thinking of other NBA players to pit against each other. I thought Larry Johnson was spot on with that one. It's like, what the hell are we talking about right now? I was like, okay, Larry. But then that rational thought process quickly took a turn when this user, who I swear he's been in his basement since he was 13 and decided to come out to say, hey, Larry, this just popped in my head. The Last Dance being a hot topic, is it fair to say Madonna cast spells on Rodman and Pippen? She's a known witch without her actually saying it, but I wonder since they both had hard, rocky roads in different ways since the late 90s. I expected this to go unanswered because really? But I was wrong. And here we go. Because now Larry Johnson responds with this. The only thing that will never be talked about from The Last Dance is if Michael Jordan sacrificed his father or not. This is for you Illuminati people. Like, they say in the Illuminati, you have to sacrifice somebody. Right. Now, look, I got nothing on this one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even. So, Devin, help me decipher how we went from logical statement to Illuminati Michael Jordan.
Jackie, I don't know why you even asked me. I have no idea. This is the most insane thing I feel like I've ever seen someone say. I do not believe that Michael Jordan sacrificed his dad for the Illuminati.
Absolutely
I don't
not.
think Madonna is a witch. I have nothing to say. I'm sorry. I don't know how.
I could see the Madonna witch thing. I could see it. But there are such things as good. I mean, but witches have a bad connotation because of how, but there's literally people who call them, I know a witch, don't judge me, but she's literally just a nature person. Like, I know a witch. She calls herself a witch, but she's literally like, she doesn't put any chemicals in her body. She grows her own food. She just believes in the holistic healing of the earth, but she calls herself a witch. So could be a thing. That's what I called her. I mean, and Madonna puts too much stuff in her body for that to be a thing. I don't know. But my point is Illuminati. Illuminati was a stretch for me. Chris, what do you think? Illuminati or not?
Don't even put me on there. No, what are you talking? No, this is definitely not a situation of Illuminati. Yes, my young high school Chris dove into all the Illuminati videos, but I did not come out thinking that Beyonce is an Illuminati, and I feel like this situation definitely is not. Yes, so stop. No, I'm not joking on that. I like that.
No. Now look, we talked about the NBA coming back. We're pretty excited about that. Chris still shaking his head on the witch thing. But now we got to hammer out the logistics. So because they're coming back later in the season, we got to talk about the format. Adam Silver is entertaining the idea of coming back in a World Cup playoff type situation. So the proposed format would have 16 teams that are qualified, obviously, with also the teams with the next four best records, which would include Portland Trailblazers, Pelicans, Kings, and the Spurs. And then they would have these tiers. So they would have all these teams in these tiers, and then they would do a random generator to create matchups. And then those two teams would play two games against each other, and then the teams with the best record would qualify for the second round of playoffs, and then those 8 teams would advance and would go on to play the 7-game series, and then that's how we would get our champ. So I don't have an opinion on this per se, other than I'm glad we're in the process of getting this moving. Britt, what do you think about this plan?
I think this is stupid. The World Cup is set up like the World Cup because the teams don't see each other until the World Cup happens. Like, it's teams from all over the world, and they don't see each other into that moment. So you have to get like a mini, like, okay, here's a series, here's whatever. And that's why it works. The NBA has a season, and they got through 70% of their season already. So that literally disses all the people who had winning games before that, because now they're not seeded in a higher thing to play a crappier team. Like, this is literally like worse than your guys's, when you guys were talking about you didn't want to see like a, just everyone to the playoff situation. This is worse than that, because at least we're not seeing like a 1 seed playing a 30 seed. We're seeing like anybody. Literally, the Lakers and Clippers could be playing each other in the first round. Like, no, that's stupid. They both were really good, and they both deserve to play shitty teams and get farther off in the playoffs. Like, that isn't. No, this is dumb. It's just dumb. Well, like, Adam Silver, you guys are going too far out of the spectrum of the NBA here, and I don't like it.
Adam Silver's a big fan of, the World Cup, and so he's let that be known. So I'm not surprised that he's entertaining this at all, because he has stolen some ideas from the past. Chris, are you on team this is stupid?
I'm on team if I see 10 players on a basketball court playing basketball, I'm with it. Like, yes, I think the initial, yes, if you break it down, obviously, it's doing too much. I don't feel like they need to be going this far to try to, figure out the rest of the season. But, I mean, if this is all we got to get the teams back on the court, the Knicks ain't on the list, so I could care less. As long as I get my draft pick, I'll be watching basketball regardless. So
I think whatever plan they come up with, whoever wins a champion they're still going to have an asterisk by it, because it still didn't go the way it was supposed to go. So it's always going to be something. But either way, I'm glad that there's a planning in the making. But now, Chris, I hope you got them vocal cords warmed up.
Ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Because now it is time for Britt's Takes.
Britt's Takes.
That was good.
Yes, that was actually probably one of my favorite ones, but I would like to be on the TV screen now.
Right.
All right, so mine's going to be kind of short and sweet today. I actually talked about this a little bit already on my own stuff, because I was just so interested by the person who made this statement. So Reggie Bush is apparently having some beef with ESPN over a he said and they said situation. So per usual, I researched and found out what happened here. So ESPN posted an article or did something on one of their shows or whatever, and they were basically talking about a statement that Reggie Bush had said in an interview he did with Playboy. Basically, they asked him what if he ever would have wanted to be a coach, or does he see coaching in his future. He said, no, it's not for him, and then continued on to say this, and I quote, "Guidance is the one thing that young athletes coming through the college system miss on so much. I missed on it. They're about they're about to start paying college athletes. This is something that has never been experienced before, and it's going to destroy some people if their foundation is not in the right place." Which, okay, that's understandable. He said he wished that he had financial knowledge when he first started getting money, and, people are going to try to come at you, and he hates that these young kids now are going to be able to get money, but they're basically not financially, knowledgeable to handle the money they're going to get at that age. So ESPN basically took a clip. We can throw up the little thing I sent you, Leo, the article. And at the bottom, this is what ESPN wrote. It says, Reggie Bush says paying college athletes will destroy some people, which verbatim is what he said. But Reggie Bush was not having it. He said, Dear ESPN, please take this story down. I did not speak to you. I never gave you approval to write this story. This is not what I said, nor the context I said it in. And you're trying to use my name with this bogus headline for clickbait. Let's not allow this to happen again. Well, this is what I highly dislike about people who aren't necessarily have journalism degrees or understand how it works, but they don't have to directly speak to you. We do this every day on this show. We talk about stuff. People can take stuff from anything. They do not need your permission. Once it is out in an article, they can also use parts of that article and do a story on it. And really, it was like they took the headline was right. You did say that. And then obviously, once you get into the article, people can give their opinion about how they feel about what you said or what they think that that means. And what I thought it meant was, first of all, how is Reggie Bush, the guy who played at USC and had his parents living in a house that he had sponsors paying for, and then ended up, once he got into the league, getting his Heisman Trophy taken away because of this situation and the investigation that went down. And then USC, even though he wasn't there anymore, had to spend 2 years not able to go to bowl games. And their athletes, with Reggie Bush not on the team, those athletes, those young kids had to suffer because of what you did before, years before, and now you're in the NFL making all this money. You played in the NFL for 11 years, and another group of people had to suffer for what you did. So I personally was surprised that Bruh decided to even make a comment on college athletes making money, because you literally, I think, are jealous, because if that would have happened when you were playing, you would not have lost your Heisman Trophy because of it. Like, I feel like he was like, I don't really care if, yes, I do care. I understand, like, it's great to be financially responsible, learn that kind of stuff. And, you know, I feel like they should probably teach us classes like that in high school instead of teaching us about shapes and geometry and stuff, because that's stuff I never used. But I would have really liked to learn how to balance a checkbook and, you know, invest in some stocks and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff, and do taxes and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff you should have taught me in high school, not how to make a right angle and how to figure out what the angle is of this triangle. But that's a different story. What I noticed out of this thing was you even putting us, like, the NCAA finally made a move, thanks to Gavin Newsom being the first governor to say that college athletes can get paid off their likeness and their name and stuff, and then turning it now, putting pressure on the NCAA to do the same thing, because then you put California in a situation where all the athletes obviously want to play in California because their schools would allow them to do that and the rest of the other schools won't. So Gavin Newsom put pressure on the NCAA to do this. This is now the proposed thing that is supposed to happen across the board. And Reggie Bush is going to be like, well, I don't know if these kids are financially stable to get money like this. I don't care. They need to get money. I don't care if you want to add in courses to whatever to teach them financial literacy or whatever, but who cares when they're getting money? Like, they need to get the money first. That was the first step. And then you can add the finance stuff, or, you know, put laws to teach them in high school, whatever you want to do. But like saying that, like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea because some people aren't financially like literate, like, that's ridiculous. That's like the craziest thing I've ever heard of for somebody who, mind you, got in trouble for the same situation. Like, to say the college kids, if they have an opportunity to get paid and make some money, because let's face it, all of us, the rest of us got jobs at 18. We're not necessarily financially literate at that time either, but are you going to say, oh, well, maybe you should just put them in internships and not give them jobs because they don't know how to deal with money yet? No, you would never say something like that. So why are you telling college athletes that maybe some of them shouldn't be making money because they don't know how to handle the money? Hopefully they figure it out. If they don't, that's another issue we can talk about. But the whole point is, we need to give them money, you know, like, and it's not like the colleges are paying it. This is off their likeness. So this is sponsorships they want to do. This is if they want to post something on Instagram and get paid for their posts. these are those kind of opportunities. And I'm not going to even make any kind of excuse or say the reasons why the kids shouldn't get the money, because they should have been getting and been able to do that a long time ago. And I think Reggie Bush is just jealous because he didn't have that opportunity. And forever, that Heisman is not going to be on his Wikipedia anymore because of that situation. So, and really the whole point of like him saying the ESPN should have not said whatever, like that's, sorry, my guy, you lost that battle because any new thing can post whatever they want. So sorry, you lost that battle on that one. Jackie, my question's going to go to you. Should Reggie Bush have said less here? And do you think he's jealous because if this rule was around during his college years, he wouldn't have lost his Heisman Trophy?
I think he's definitely jealous. And I think it's similar to what I said about Aisha yesterday. Like, you have to acknowledge, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have been mad if he had said, damn, if they'd have done this when I was coming up, this wouldn't have been a whole thing, you know? But instead he tries to make it like, oh, money's going to, it didn't even destroy you as an athlete. It didn't destroy your career. It put an asterisk by it and you lost your Heisman Trophy. But he could have said, you know, hey, if somebody had given me financial literacy, maybe I could have navigated this better. Two, if I'd had this opportunity, then yes, I could have, you know, provided for my family, myself, and the kids behind me wouldn't have had a problem. He could have phrased it in a way where it acknowledged his situation, acknowledged how this situation is different, and then he could have spoke on the difference of it. But just going off and saying, oh, this is terrible for them, when he basically did it before doing it was a thing, is it's kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know. He's definitely in his feelings. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't really know.
This was a definitely a say less moment for him because of all the stuff that he went through with the thing. I don't think he's the person that should have been giving this speech about, you know, I just don't think he was the one that should have been doing that. Like, I get the, yes, we do not need financial literacy and stuff like that. But I didn't want to hear from him, especially since he had his college thing.
Right. Unless he just spent, like, maybe he got on this path of, oh, I'm just used to these handouts. I think money's always going to be a thing. And he spent his money horribly in the league. Like, maybe that's a thing, like saying, hey, if we're going to give kids an opportunity to make money, let's also make sure they understand how to budget that, how to plan for the future.
Yeah.
He could have said that.
I would have liked to say also, let's do this, not the, well, giving the kids money, that's going to ruin some of them. No.
Right.
Say, say, give us an option. Say, oh, that's so great that we're giving these kids opportunity to make money. Let's also see if we can start a program to help them learn how to deal with that money and balance that a little bit better. That's what I would have liked him to say. He just said it wrong, so he should have said less. That's it.
All right.
Think it through, Reggie.
Right.
Thank you so much for that take, Reggie. I loved our show today. We got into a lot of great stuff, and I really just enjoyed hearing everybody's perspective on everything. We're going to be back again with more sports news tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so don't forget to tune in. Set a reminder on your phone so that you can be here. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fumble bell for notifications. Hit that thumb up, those hands, my friends, and we shall see you tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.
Especially you, Floyd. Wash your hands.
Yeah, Floyd.